beginning steps of our digital imaging, what we are trying to do in the laboratories right now. And during the COVID, this was a very good learning machine for us to make sure that we don't miss some of the minute details of the hematological parameters, that is the visualization of the cells itself. So my topic will span for about 20 to 25 minutes, and we'll be dealing with how the man, machine, and the morphology of the cells are important for digital imaging. The objectives of the talk are what are the steps which we are involved in the manual review of the peripheral smear, and what are the bottlenecks, and what is the principle of the digital morphology, and how we can use the digital morphometry and morphology for our day-to-day workup, and few case studies to make us understand that how it is more helpful when the eyes cannot see much and when there is a fatigue of the eye itself. So we all know that the blood smear study takes the center stage in the hematological workup, and it is the basic workup what we do. And it is the most important parameter to complement the flag review criteria or confirmation of some of the findings from the hematological analyzer, or it may be a requested order from the physician to make sure that a peripheral smear review is being done. So when we are doing a peripheral smear review itself, we have to understand that whether we have got any presence of RBC disorders or morphological abnormalities of the RBCs. Do we have any qualitative and quantitative disorders of the WBCs, or do we have any quantitative and morphological disorders of the platelets? So basically it revolves around the morphological study and the quantitative abnormalities if we have got to correlate with that of the peripheral smear study itself. So the manual smear study involves various steps, but the most important thing is the peripheral blood smear preparation, a good stain smear, and a good microscope and a microscopist or the morphologist. And the slide examination recording has to be done along with that of the data. And the data has to be interpreted along with that of the hematology analyzer and other accessory ancillary investigations to come to a conclusion and give advisory services to our clinical colleagues itself. The most important process is the blood film preparation and the staining, and the quality of the peripheral smear preparation and the staining becomes the most important crux around centered which the microscopic study depends upon. So for all digital imaging process, whether it is in histopathology or in smear study, the most important becomes the preparation of the smear as well as the staining itself. And then of course, the vision which is being taken up either by the microscope or by the digital imaging system gets us a good data for all these slide processes what we have done. Now, what is the current hematological workup? Can we just have a look at the flow? The flow is that an EDTA tube sample is getting into the hematology analyzer. As per the review policies of the laboratory SOPs, if the results are within the range, it gets transferred out of the laboratory information system and the electronic medical record, and it can be accessed through anywhere in the internet or through the intranet itself. Suppose there is a flag of criteria or an abnormal results, the EDTA sample has to undergo a smear preparation reviewed by that of the technicians, and it has to be reviewed by the pathologist, maybe one pathologist or two pathologists or three pathologists. Suppose there is a problem where we don't have the pathologist for that particular day or that particular time, the smear has to be transferred manually to his place where he is there for the analysis itself. So the most important thing here in the whole process is that the smear preparation has to have the traceability to the patient's EDTA sample, which is barcoded, and the technician should label it very well so that the traceability of the numbering should also get on to the traceability of the EDTA sample, which is a barcoded sample itself. Now, when we are using the slides, when it gets transferred to one pathologist to the other pathologist, there is a labor which is involved there, which may be time intensive of about 30 minutes, which we have to routinely take even to rule out the MP or a malarial parasite. It may not be standardized because of the peripheral smear staining, or it may not be good because of the field of the view of the microscope may be different. And it is very difficult to train the technologist as well as the morphologist who are the junior residents or the senior residents to make sure that they'll be able to catch up the good image and the good cellular characteristics to diagnose that case itself. The histological images, that is, when you have to have a delta check on cases, it will be very difficult for us to get on to that of the manual smear preparation itself. So to summarize, the disadvantages of the manual process may be so many, but the most important thing is the brain fatigue, which may lead to missed malignancy or missed parasitic index or missed parasites of the blood itself. The training, when it is incomplete, given to that of the personnel, may be altered to have a skill labor, which might give you a difficulty in getting onto the scrutinization itself. Remote consultation may not be possible from the place where you are in the central laboratory to the peripheral laboratory or the peripheral laboratory to that of the central laboratory. The storage of the stain slide becomes a big headache for the laboratories because it occupies a lot of space itself. The data archives and the delta checks may not be possible in a manual process. Let's see whether when we are adopting the digital morphology, whether these things get totally ironed out, or still we have some limitations and advantages on the manual process itself. So when we look into the digital era of the morphometry of the peripheral smear, it was in 1966, it started with that of the Sweden company manufacturing a scanning microscope system to review the peripheral smears. In 1974, by LARC, the image processors got into the picture. And in 2000, the pioneers from the Sweden who were manufacturing the image processing system converted the machines into the CellaVision. So when we look into the advantages of the digital imaging, we have an increasing number of the blood samples which are coming because of the master health checkups or because of the epidemics, where we are reviewing more number of the slides. And it requires, most importantly, the concentration by the reviewer itself. So when you have got epidemics or when you have shortage of the skills, there is a reduced healthcare spending, which becomes the constraint for the management, and the efficiency comes down itself. Now, when you want to go in for a standardization so that the process remains the same, whoever may be at the forefront, the digital imaging and the stainer also helps us a lot. Coming to that of the higher quality, the traceability becomes one of the advantages for of the digital microscopy, so that you can trace across to that of the barcodings which have been done on the peripherals, as well as the coding which has been done on the digital imaging system. Delta checks can be optimized, and classification of the cells can be beautiful, and the same cells can be viewed by the other persons when we are doing a teleconsultation itself. So the pressure to do more with less will be removed, because you have got a imaging system where it can do within a span of about 10 to 15 minutes, it can finish up the scanning of the slide, and it can give you beautiful images of the WBC, the RBCs, and the platelets itself. The shortage of the skilled personnel can be removed, and remote consultation can be done because the pictures can be transferred via the intranet or the intranet, or to the links of that of the imaging to that of the mobile phones. So smartphones can also be used for accession. Shorter turnaround time can be there. I'll show you some of the cases where it highlights that the turnaround time can very much improve upon. And standardization brings in a consistency in the process itself. The most important thing is that quality control of the peripheral smears can also be done by using the digital morphometry itself. So by adopting the digital technology, that is the machine, it can improve the efficiency, promotes quality, improves connectivity, and promotes proficiency testing also inside the circle. So this is in short, what is the process which happens in that of the digital imaging. The slides are processed by the digital imaging system. The microscopes inside the digital imaging system can capture the cells, and the differential can happen. There is a pre-classification or a characterization of the cells. It can be remote, either next to the computers which are provided by the digital imaging system, or remotely. And you can have a remote verification with one of the pathologists from India, or it may be from abroad, or it may be in the same circle. So this is the main small principle which I have got for you people. There's a small digital camera which has been accessed here via the sagittal section of the machine itself. The digital camera has got, these are the relay tubes which you can see here. You have got 1x as well as a 0.x relay tube. You have an objective of 10x as well as 100x, and you have an LED table which is the table source for the light itself, and the slides are being automatically mounted over here. The slides get scanned, and once they are scanned, you have a monolayer of an RBC morphology which has been triggered by that of the scanning system, where 21 different morphologies of the RBCs are projected. It counts about 500 RBCs to give you a perfect morphology of the RBCs. Coming to that of the WBCs, a monolayer search for the WBCs has been done, especially when there is a location of the nucleated cells. At about 100 to 500 cells, it can magnify and it can give you as an sorter itself. Most of the time, the WBCs are sorted for about 100, the RBCs for about 500, and the platelets are also counted with these machines. So how do they do that? So whenever you have got a slide which has been stained, it has been barcoded, and the slide goes in for the scanning from the center where you have got a thin monolayer, and as a battleground or a battlefront, it does the scanning and it starts doing a stepwise manner to make sure that you have got the touching of the RBCs to each other so that there is no overlapping, and you get a beautiful picture of the RBCs, the WBCs, and the platelets. So it uses what is called as a neural network or an artificial neural network, or in other words, we can also say that it is using the artificial intelligence by 360 degrees based 6 features. One is the form of the cell, the color of the cell. So the staining becomes very, very crucial for the analysis of the digital imaging. What is the texture of the granules of the RBCs or the WBCs or the lymphocytes or the monocytes, what we have got? Do they have any vacuoles? And do they have any probable functional differences which can get it? And also some of the wavelengths which can be trapped by that of the artificial neural network to give you the cell morphology itself. So this is how you get the initial diagrams which has been there. And initially you get these which are there intricate or inbuilt to that of the system. And this is the imaging what you're seeing and then output itself. So these are the classification on which the cells have been broadly classified into the band neutrophils, the eosinophils, the basophils, the monocytes, the promyelocytes, the myelocytes, the blast where there is no lineage specific, and the plasma cells and the lymphocyte variant forms. Now we were talking about that of the dengue, and we were talking about with that of the high platelet counts what you have got, as well as the high fluorescent cells what you have got in the lymphocytes. Those are actually highlighted in the digital imaging by the lymphocyte variant form of the plasma cells itself. When we have got giant thrombocytes also, you have a flag off, and you have got nucleated RBCs as a special section, the smart cells and the artifact to that of the WBCs itself. So let us see how do the machines give the information itself. This is a print screen from the WBC itself. So the blood WBCs, you can see a lot of neutrophils here. On the left-hand side, you have got the percentage count, where you have got here the classification, which has been beautifully done for the WBCs. And the numbers are also there here given as 1, 2, and 3. And if you're going to do a teleconsult, you can say that number 1 cell, if you can just see what might be your opinion. Number 3, what is the cell? What is their opinion? You can just ask the teleconsulting group itself. Now coming to that of the looking into the aspect of the screen, when you have the screen, either you can have a gallery view of like this, or you can split the screen into 2 to have both the screens which are being used. The advantage of having 2 screens here is that this CellaVisions has got inbuilt library, which you can increase from your experiences, and you can pre-classify the cells and put across what you see in your day-to-day work. So what happens is that this is from the library here on the right-hand side. So this is the CellaVision library, what you have got. And on your left-hand side, in the left-hand column, you have got one cells, what has been characterized by our cells. So when you see there is a picture matching program, which gives you a clear idea that whether we are near to it, or it may be something to do that of an atypical cells, which we have to classify them as a blast cells or the non-blast cells itself. So the image library helps us quite hard to understand that whether we are having a good traceability of the cells to the international libraries itself. Coming to that of the RBC classification, the RBC classifications are based upon the cell type as well as that of the inclusions, which you can see here, starting from the sickle cells to that of the cystiocytes to the target cells. You have got inclusions like Howell-Jolly bodies, Pappenheimer bodies, the basophilic stippling, and the parasites, especially the malaria or the babiosis itself. So one of the greatest advantage of the digital imaging for the RBCs is that it gives you a beautiful classification based upon the ISLH guidelines itself. So it gives you the percentage over here, 0, 1, 2, 3 on your left-hand side. On your right hand side, you have the gallery where it says that you have number of the target cells, number of the cystiocytes, number of the helmet cells, number of the sickle cells, number of the spherocytes, the elliptocytes, the ovulocytes, and the teardrop cells itself. So you can connect this to your LIS, and the reports can be generated based upon the ISLH guidelines, and you have a beautiful smear report using the digital morphology itself. Coming to the platelets, whenever you have got a doubt on an automated analyzer and you would like to do a count of the platelets, the digital imaging do help us by giving us this 9 squares, and you can manually count this and you can get the count corrected to that of the high power per square, whatever you have got. And you can also have an approximate platelet per grid, and you can calculate the platelet result so that you can get a correlation between the smear, what you have done, to that of an automated analyzer itself. Now you can also go ahead to that of the imaging of your cellular fluids. If you are doing in your hematology, the cellular fluids or the body fluids can also be done using the what we call as a CellaVision pre-mode, or you have a digital imaging mode which you can change across to that of the body fluids mode itself. So when we look at the advantages, it will have a cell atlas or an imaging atlas. You can export and email the images, and you can also have a location which you can get onto that of an abnormal cells which you have missed or someone who can see. You can make yourself the guidelines, and you can adopt your own SOPs to bring in to that of your reporting guidelines to that of the LIS, and you can also do a mark the images for the commenting, and you can also have a staff training program or the proficiency training program for your staff also. I'm talking to you about how can we check the quality of the smear preparation as well as that of the staining itself. Here I have got one of the quality check modalities of the digital imaging, and on the right hand side is a beautiful cell image from that of a peripheral smear where it shows the stain intensity is good and the smear color is also good, and the quality has been given as green color here, which indicates that it's a good quality smear. So when it is a poor quality smear, there is no green color in your slides, which you see here. There is no monolayer quality at all. And the stain intensity and the smear color is very poor, and it requires to be relooked at the troubleshooting itself. Again, poor stain quality here. There is a small amount of thin preparation of the green color, which has been reviewed by that of the digital imaging. The stain intensity is poor, the smear color is poor, and you have got a stain marks all over here, which indicates that you have to make a filtering of your stain quality itself. Now coming to the RBC main menu, when you look at an RBC main menu, this is the one you get on to that of a larger frame where you have got dimorphic picture over here on your right hand side. On your left hand side, you can see that you have got more number of the classifications of the RBCs itself. RBC characterization, which I was already telling you that of an RBC differentiation can happen there like this. And you can also have a matching program to understand. The blue colors are the ones which are from the library, and the topmost one is from the smear which has been read to correlate that of how does the elliptocyte look. And here also you have got examples of the teardrop cells in the library, a few of them, but you have got more number of them from the smear itself for the comparisons itself, image match itself. So let us see how we can apply the digital imaging to that of the day-to-day operations itself. I have got few cases for understanding. Now here we have got 21-year-old history of a road traffic accident we have got. And if you see that you have got flag off in the hematology analyzer, as a policy of that of the laboratory, any of the flag offs what we get here and abnormal histogram as you see here should go in for a slide review program. So when we did a slide review program for this, you see beautiful ROLU formation in this cases, and you have got anisocytosis, and you also have got a papanema bodies in this case. Next, we have second case of 37-year-old female who was positive for SARS-CoV, especially during the pandemic of the first wave. You have got a WBC count of about 12,000 over here, and you have got a neutrophilia, and we had a policy that all the SARS-CoV-2 PCRs which are positive by RT-PCR should go for a smear review. And when we have a smear review for this case, we saw beautiful agglutination in this. One more case of RT-PCR positive for SARS-CoV-2. We had got the annotations which had been done so that we can do it on a Sunday consultation to that of the pathologist, and this was reviewed, and these were the small bugs which you are seeing. These are classical malarial parasites which you are seeing here. Okay. Now, on your right hand side, I want you to see that these are the images of the malarial parasite. But on your left hand side, if you go to that of the RBC characterization, you have a parasites which have been flagged off here as red. So that's the advantage of the CellaVision, where you will be able to pick up the digital imagings beautifully well. So this is again a classical picture of the malarial parasite here. Now, this is 17-year-old female. This was a very pathetic case which I saw during the pandemic. So she had a recent onset of blindness, and on the hematose analyzer, you had a bad scatter plot over here. And the smear study shows beautiful blast cells here. And you see here, you have got now the blast which has been flagged off 50% on your count of that of your left-hand side, where it says you have got 50%. So a case of leukemia was reported on that. A 55 years old lady who had RT-PCR positivity, where you had got satellitism of the platelets over here. And the neutrophil shows beautiful vacuolations in this, and you had got toxic granules in these cases. So the pictures of the neutrophil changes during the COVID pandemic was very well given by the digital imaging system, so that we were able to help the clinicians in a better way. And this was one of the megakaryocytes in the same cases where it shows vacuolation. Now, we had few unusual cases during the first wave itself. This was one of the cases which had a rosette formation because of polyclonal gammopathy. And this was a case of renal failure, which I still remember that this was a CKD. Protein electrophoresis showed band of the alpha-1, alpha-2, beta, as well as at the gamma. And beautiful rosettes were seen in these cases, which was also uploaded to the ASH image bank. Then we had one more case of the fat embolism syndrome during this case, where the hematology smears were abnormal. On the tube, we had this flat globules. Let us see what was the picture when we saw in that of the digital imaging. The digital imaging showed beautiful flat vacuoles engulfed by that of the neutrophils here, which was published in the ASH image gallery. And this was the image of the yellow particles, which we went on the wet mount, showing the flat globules, and it was a case of fat necrosis syndrome. We also saw Howell-Jolly-like inclusion bodies in COVID patients, where we had got small Howell-Jolly-like inclusion bodies, which is one of the indications that it may be a patient may be on a high dose of antiviral drugs or antifungal drugs. And this was one of the cases of an indication of the cytotoxicity or the cytotoxicity to the bone marrow also. This was one more case, the first case where I told the 21 years old male who had got the Rolu formation. The bone aspiration was done, and it was also mounted on to that of the digital imaging to show you that these are the Russell bodies which are there in the plasmacytoid cells, and the serum electrophoresis showed positivity for the M protein itself. So these are again the bone marrow of the same picture, or the same boy had showed lot of binucleated plasma cells, and a report of multiple myeloma was issued on this case. This was one of the beautiful cases which I learned, which I think I had really missed in my manual manual morphology itself. This was a beautiful plasma cells which showed Snapper's neat granules in the plasma cells, and it got published in that should be uploaded to that of the ASH image bank, which got into several reviews because they wanted us to make sure that we gave them the proper documentation of the reference. There was only 2 references worldwide, which we had to ask the authors to give and try to upload it in the ASH image bank. So in addition to all this, we have got some fun, which meaning that of the digital artists. And thanks for so much for listening with great care. Take care and be safe. And I hope I was able to give you in a nutshell how the man, the machine, and the morphology makes our life better. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Srinivas, for that brilliant talk. And I think you have integrated the digital morphology into the current practice. We have few questions from the audience. The first question is, by Sandhya Ramachandran, who is asking 100x objective is available with which slide scanner?
I could not get you, sir.
100x objective is available with which slide scanner? A question by Dr. Sandhya Ramachandran.
Okay, it's available with that of the CellaVision.
Okay. So the next question is by Dr. Sabnam Ruhi. She's asking, how can you include this CellaVision in the scope of NABL, and what are the prerequisites, if any?
Okay, I would suggest them to look into the CAP website, where they have released guidelines for the digital imaging system in the month of May 2021, where it gives how you can incorporate the digital imaging system, whether it is hematology or histopathology, in our accreditation process itself.
Yes. Any more questions by the audience? I don't see any in the question answer box or on the chat box. Any more? If the audience could ask questions.
Yeah, we can have the questions typed in the Q&A and chat section.
Yes,
for
I
Dr.
have asked all of them what is available currently.
Yes.
Yes.
So even if there
Somebody else
are
is asking, yes, one more question. No, it is just Shabnam is thanking CNS.
Oh, thank you.
Dr. Ravis is asking thalassemia slides, how it could be characterized.
Yeah, we can do, sir. We can do the smear screening for the thalassemia. And if you want to incorporate some rules, you can incorporate the rules into that of your flagging system in your hematology analyzer and incorporate that as a reflex smear study. And you can get onto the digital imaging, where you can get onto that the target cells grouping can be done by the digital imaging system.
You see what, Srinivas, we also have been using CellaVision for almost now 1.5 years.
Yeah.
The total number of WBCs that the scanner counts,
yeah,
is just 200 neutrophils, 200 white cells.
Okay, sir.
So I have asked the CellaVision people if it could be adjustable. Suppose I want 500 white cells to be counted in the differential or to be imaged. The time taken will be more, but at least we will know more number of cells. So particularly in a cancer center where blast count is very important in post-induction or post-consolidation, where 1% occasional blast, 1 to 2 blasts per 200 WBCs. So just 200 cell count by CellaVision, I think, is not adequate. So I think it is work in progress. I think CellaVision must be working on it. How you can adjust the total number of white cells to be within the imaging radar. So that I think they must be working. Yes. What do you say about this?
That's right, sir. So we have some issues in the digital imaging system, especially when we have pediatric cases, sir. So you will be knowing much more about it because you are handling more of the pediatric malignancies also. So there are some issues with that of the pediatric slides, especially when it comes for the leukemia. And when they have pancytopenia, it becomes very difficult to go with the help of the digital imaging system.
Okay, anybody has any questions? Anil is in the audience. Could he contribute something? Anil?
Yes, so the point is,
What
I
is
think
your comment on this, these discussions that we had about the CellaVision?
I think it's an amazing kind of a, if I look at the technology part of it, there's no question on that, but it is surely going to, may not really replace the man, as Dr. Srinivas has rightly pointed out. What's more important is that it needs to amalgamate in our routine working, wherein the flagging and how we define our slide review criteria and then eventually use this for our benefit is what really is going to make it the best. And in fact, I was amazed at the kind of cases which Dr. Srinivas showed us. This normally, you would just miss them, because you generally have a tendency to look at the smears, maybe 50 cells, 100 cells, but then when you take it from a digital morphology analyzer, a lot of things get picked up which are given to your eye and you are able to actually figure them out. So all in all, I surely feel that digital morphology is going to be, something which is
Yeah.
the future for, in
Yes.
the area of hematology. And I just hope that we have solutions which are not very expensive to afford for majority of the laboratories to get it into this picture. And hopefully it should give us a lot more information than what we currently have. But all in all, a fantastic presentation, sir. I must, congratulate you for that. It was beautiful, especially the cases, the contributions which you made to the ASH Image Bank. Amazing, really, really good, and really, really beautiful. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for sharing so much with us.
Thank you, Anil Handu. Personally, I would like to thank you for inviting for this forum. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we are coming to the end of this session. At the end, I would like to profusely thank Anil for his persistent effort year after year for putting this in place and conducting this scientific program and developing this program into a yearly annual ritual. And I must compliment him for all his efforts. Brilliant effort, Anil.
Thank you very much, sir. And
Yeah.
thank you so much, Dr. Deepak. It was really, really nice of you to have accepted to be a part of the chair of this session. And I'm really thanking you from the bottom of my heart to have, taken us through the entire session since morning. Your comments and your, snippets in between have been extremely good and beautiful and thought-provoking also in some of the presentations. Some guidelines or some suggestions which you've given to Tina, especially. I'm sure she will be taking it up in the laboratory and with Nishit's help, and we should also be supporting it significantly. Hopefully, in our next session, we will be able to give you better information on that.
And with your leadership role.
Absolutely, sir.
So there are two more things in the chat box. Just Dr. Sabnam has said that there is a similar system in the market by Sig2Play. What is your experience with it? Sig2Play is now tying up with us for validating their platform. This is an Indian company in Bangalore.
Yeah.
And they have devised a platform which is similar to CellaVision. And I think, yes, this is an Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative. So let's see how much Atmanirbhar we could be.
Yeah, I think Sig2Play is something which is probably, I've also had some interaction with them in the recent past. We are also looking at, evaluating them in our center.
Yes.
On the face of it, they seem to be a promising new set of people, who are trying to get us something which is maybe similar to CellaVision, but only time will tell. That's first thing.
Yes.
Second thing, we expect it to be much cheaper. So obviously it might be, a product which perhaps people with the constraints of finances can easily look for.
Yes, and Dr. Reena is with them, who is working
Yes.
hard all over the country to go around and do this. And lastly, Parag Tavkar has come on the chat box, and he's saying possible to count up to 900 cells. The default setting of CellaVision is 200 white cells. So I asked him, why can't we make it 500? Because when you have very low number of blasts in the peripheral blood post-induction or post-consolidation, so you have to examine large number of WBCs to find that one occasional or one or two blasts. So I asked him if we could increase this 200 default setting to more. So he has written that possible to count up to 900 cells. So that's good news. We can do that. Though the scanning time will increase, but I think it is doable. The system should permit us to do that. So with that, I thank the organizers, Mindray, Dr. Anil Handu and his entire team of his colleagues in BLK, Max, and I hand it over back to the organizers to take the proceedings.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Mishra.
Thank you, everybody, all the speakers for their brilliant talks.